The 9 to 5 was developed when the woman stayed at home.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the man went to work 9 till 5. But actually what's happened is that doesn't happen anymore.
No.
But the 9 to 5 mentality in a lot of businesses has stayed the same.
And also, who gets it right all the time?
No.
Like,
Well,
not
apart from me, not
obviously. When that generation leave, I think there'll be a real shift in how the workplace feels.
I'm going to move us on, otherwise we could get stuck on Gen Z.
Yeah.
So, millennials is the next one.
Yep.
So that's on this one, which I think is slightly
I think
wrong.
it's slightly out.
That's you, Gen Dog, isn't it?
Is this me?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Please don't call me Gen Dog on the podcast.
Basically,
Sorry.
My teenage child politely nicknamed me Gen Dog, and Al's annoyingly taking it on as
Taking
a
that on,
real.
ironically,
That's
yeah,
ideal.
Please keep that in.
I'll clip it and send you a clip.
Edit that one out.
yeah, we'll edit it in, yeah. So, me and Gen Dog are millennials, I think.
Whoop whoop.
Alison,
Is old.
you're borderline, I think, pretty much.
On many, many things, not just age.
The spectrum is definitely.
But the characteristics are competitive,
Yeah.
civic and open-minded.
I don't even know what does that mean?
I don't know what civic means.
Unsure.
Achievement-orientated.
Yes.
So I can relate.
I would agree with that.
I feel like I'm fairly open-minded. Mm-hmm. I don't know whether I am
It's quite loose though, isn't it?
achievement-orientated.
It's
Yeah.
like
What does it say underneath? There's a bit more.
Wouldn't you
bit
not
of
say
few
you were
bits.
Shaped
man.
by Columbine. You telling Americans written this?
Yeah.
9/11. Are you definitely telling Americans written this?
The
What is it
internet.
say?
Shaped by the internet. Yeah, because the internet was
Ask Jeeves.
yeah,
Remember
that's
that?
Jeez, yeah.
Yeah, I saw the 9/11 thing. I think I was 1 when that happened.
What?
So I remember being at school. When
Me
I
I
was
too.
1.
I was at work.
I got
Okay, you're definitely Gen X
Yeah,
then.
you're
Yeah,
the-
Yeah.
one.
I just my manager in the other room. I don't know how much I'm allowed to swear, and I just heard her go, and so I went running into her little office and she had it on the screen. Yeah.
Do you know what?
On
We
a
got the
desk
TV
thing that was-
wheeled in. Do you remember that when they used to wheel telly in?
We did have a we had a
that
wheel
had-
telly in there.
I was doing a woodwork lesson, and the
they
teacher was
wheeled,
just
Yeah.
like,
they wheeled the telly in
This
and
has
plugged
happened.
it in and put channel 1 on. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh my god!
I
And
was
that's
watching
how
it on
I
a
knew.
monitor that was about that thick. Can you remember like the old like
yeah.
yeah, unfold.
So we are. That's us then, isn't it? So open-minded. I'm not sure what the civic bit means. I'm not going to be honest. Has anyone got a Google or a
Motivated by
thesaurus?
thesaurus.
open-minded, I suppose.
Yeah, but would you not say
I
you
would
were
say so.
open-minded? And also, Ellie, would you not say you were open-minded? It's quite vague, isn't it?
I guess it's maybe if you think of like the old like the ones sort of above us, like the baby boomers and the traditionalists, they're probably not as open-minded.
Yeah.
Like we were saying before,
Yes.
it's very you come to the office at 9, you leave at 5.
Yeah.
This is what
Yes.
I will
Do
give
your
you, and
job.
that's the end. So they're not open to all of the noise and the changes. So it's maybe
Yes.
more in that respect.
We're more flexible,
Yeah.
maybe. We kind
Yes.
of go with the flow, I think. And if someone said to you, you need to do it this way, you'd go, all right, we'll give it a whirl.
Exactly, yeah.
You'd also
You wouldn't be
go,
like, no.
But there's also a better
Yeah,
way
Yeah.
to
like
do it.
I feel like Gen Z is very
You're
more
quite
closed-minded.
stubborn.
Yeah, possibly,
and
actually.
Like, no,
Yeah,
actually,
yeah.
I'm doing it this way. That's TikTok said to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the best
And then you
way
try
to
it,
do
fail, and
Yeah, then come back to you lot.
Okay, you would try it now.
Yeah.
What did you learn?
I think it's that thing though, isn't it? Like my pet hate is people that that sounds awful, but you know, like we've always done it this way, and I just think, oh no,
I've met so many
Just
I'm
because-
the opposite, actually.
yeah, just
you?
because,
Even if I
yeah.
think that it's going to go wrong, I'm like, you try it.
Just try
Yeah,
it.
give it a whirl.
Because I don't
What's
know.
the worst thing?
It might,
Yeah.
it might work. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Do you know what I'd say I am as well? I don't know if you're the same, but I'm very accepting of things as they are. So if something doesn't work, I'm like, right, okay, well, it hasn't worked. Let's
Move
make,
on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know
yeah.
whether that's part of our age group, but I am very, it is what it is a little
Yeah.
bit. And if things go wrong or they're not what you hope they would be, I'm like, right, okay, so next time when we try it again,
Just learn from it,
We
don't you?
learn
That's
from
the
it, but
key,
I am
yeah.
I make peace with things quite quickly, and I kind of accept that it might have been a shit show, or it
Yes,
might not have
yeah,
worked out the way that we hoped it would. But I'm like, well,
It's not being stubborn, is
yeah.
it?
And remember, like you go, like no one's died, like it could be worse.
I just
you
think
know,
it's, you know,
shake it off.
Although
dust
I said
yourself
that
down
once and
and
someone had, so you just have to be careful when you use that phrase. That's a true story for another time, but
Oh,
yeah,
God.
so you just have to be careful.
But yeah, I think
A non-podcast time.
So you just have to be careful.
not on this podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's maybe kind of our generation as well. We just go, it happened. It was a bit of a disaster, but we'll crack on and move forward. And I think maybe as a business owner, you have to be a little bit like that, because if
Well,
you
it
took
benefits
every,
me to do that.
if you took
Yeah.
every
Yeah, yeah.
failure as a oh my god, it's the world's ending,
Yeah, yeah.
you would spend your whole life in crisis, wouldn't you? And actually, you
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
go, right, that one didn't go well, but we've learned from it. We're not going to do that again.
Yes.
So maybe that's the open-mindedness
Yeah.
kind of coming through.
I think the
as-
generation above you guys are very much like, the whole, oh God, it's not
Careful.
gone right.
Yeah,
The world has ended. You're a millennial, right?
Gen Z.
Gen X.
X.
Right,
I get them
okay.
in my head. X, yeah.
Maybe I'm
only
wrong then.
just though, because I'm 1980. I was at the end of 1980, so
Yeah.
she's dragging this one out. She doesn't want to be.
Maybe I'm
So
wrong.
I-
Maybe I'm wrong.
I think. Sorry, Ellie.
No, wait, sorry.
Sorry,
I
you
did
were gonna say
mean, I
something,
meant
yeah.
like I don't know what generation it is, sorry, like the 60-year-olds.
So baby boomers.
boomers.
Like me,
Yes.
like
Our parents.
me and Jenny's
Yeah,
parents. Yeah.
yeah. Because I think they're very much like, damn, it's gone wrong. The world has ended.
Yes.
There's
it
no
can-
way we can figure it out.
Yeah.
My parents can catastrophize things a little, and,
Yeah.
I'm going, relax, it's not that deep, and they're going, oh my god, So I think maybe they have a little bit more panic about them,
Yeah.
in terms of worrying about things that either haven't happened yet, might happen, or when they have happened. But I'm going, well, if it's already happened, there's literally nothing you can do.
Yeah,
so what
yeah.
is the point in
Yeah,
stressing
yeah.
about
Grown
it?
up in an entirely different world though to
Yeah.
us. I
It
think.
is,
yeah,
Yeah.
it's insane. I worked for a company. One of their values was it's okay to screw it up, and I loved that.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
I
it kind
love
of gave
that.
you permission to have a go,
be
human,
human.
and then
Yeah, you
know
need
that
to
you're not
fail.
going to be like dragged across the coals
Yeah.
if you've like
Exactly,
it up.
human.
Yeah.
yeah,
It is
Like,
human, but
we
all...
all
yeah, and
yeah,
just go.
we're
Do you know
gonna say the
what? I
same
tried
thing.
that, or I've fucked
Yeah.
up. You know,
Yeah.
and it's like
You need to do that to learn from it, yeah.
And
Yeah.
also, who gets it right all the time? Like,
Well,
not
apart from me, not most-
obviously.
I love that.
Jesus,
joking,
not
I
right. Obviously, he never gets it wrong. But
I am joking, by the way. Nick's thinking, jeez, I'm not going to do my hair again.
This is just our friendship. We just literally roast each other stuff. But yeah, you get used to us eventually.
Yeah.
I think that human element has to remain, and I'm very passionate about that. I did a talk for Barclays last month in Leeds, and there was a massive onus on the fact that everybody doing a job is just a person, and actually we've all got other stuff going on that means that you're not always firing on all cylinders, and that is absolutely okay.
Yes.
Everybody's got external influences. They've got children to juggle, they've got maybe financial struggles, they may be moving house, they've got parents that are ill, they've got relationships that are maybe coming to an end, they've got
Yes.
stuff going on, and like not one person in this life is just sails through, and actually that's really important to remember that and go, what else might be going on in that person's world if they've made if they've made a mistake, are they completely overwhelmed at the minute? Have they had no sleep because they've got a newborn? Are they in the middle of moving house and they're absolutely shattered?
And does it really matter?
Does it really matter?
Yeah.
As
Nobody
you
has
say,
died.
has anybody died? And you
Yeah.
go, because I
Yeah.
can be, I cannot overthink sometimes, and I'm really grateful that I have Ali for that in a sense, because she's very good at putting some perspective on things, and I might go, oh, and she's going, yeah, but Jen, it's not that big a deal, mate. Like, just send the email.
Sometimes
figure
it just
it
needs
out.
time to
Yeah.
pass.
Time's
yeah.
a massive influence, and I remember our parents used to say, "Time's a healer," and you go, "Okay, yeah, whatever." But actually,
It is.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is, and
Yeah.
it does fix
It
a
is.
lot. And in the next 5 years, the baby boomers won't be at work anymore.
Yeah.
And actually the workplace will feel completely different.
It will.
I don't know about any of you guys. Have you ever had like someone that you called like a work mum or a work dad? Like someone who you like always had as like that go-to person that's a little bit older than you, but like gave you
Look at it go,
advice.
don't you dare say me.
I'm not old enough to imagine.
Is Nick your work dad? But I've always had like
Yeah.
somebody older.
Yeah.
And I always think, imagine the workplace when they're not here. Like it'll
Yeah.
be really weird because they're just like old and wise, and they're kind of that go-to person for. I remember my like first ever boss, and I'm still in contact with her now, like 18 years later.
That's nice, isn't it?
And
Yeah,
I call her like, I always say like, you're my first work mum, because I went into the world of work going, I don't have a clue what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And she was the one going, yeah, don't do it like that. But also when I did do it, going, we'll sort it, it's fine. And you never forget those people that leave like a mark on you, like
Yeah, positive or negative.
Yeah, well, exactly
yeah.
exactly
Yeah.
that.
Thing,
We've
isn't
done.
it?
I mean,
Yeah.
imagine us in HR. We've got some some stories.
I can imagine,
It would be an entire podcast in itself.
Maybe we could do that.
Serious.
Maybe we should do
Yeah.
You just have to bleep out names.
all the bleeps.
HR horror
just be
story.
bleep,
Yeah,
bleep, bleep,
It's when
bleep.
people are watching it going, oh God, that was me.
That
I remember that was me.
If this sounds like you, it was you. But, you know, you always have those people that leave an impact on you. And I think it's quite sad that really in the next 5 years, some of those people, you know, they won't be in people's lives anymore. But then there's also people that just don't want to change and they're resistant to change to the point where when they stop working, people go, thank God they've gone, because actually they were an absolute pain in the arse and they wouldn't do anything other than what they've done for the last 30 years. And actually they make culture really, really hard work, you know. So it's definitely an ever growing and ever changing beast, but quite interesting. I'm quite interested to see how it looks in 5 years, aren't you? Like, and how
definitely.
it feels, and you know, you'll both, you know, own your own businesses, and you'll get to see people come and go, and you'll develop some, and some won't stay, and you'll take lessons from all of those, the ones that stay with you and become, you know, your
100%,
your next.
It's interesting.
So I guess the interesting thing then is once those sort of baby boomers drop off, it's kind of my gen. Well, I know
running the show.
I know, that's quite scary. But I do think, I think some of my generation, so more sort of my age, because obviously it ranges from like the 60s, doesn't it?
Yeah, top end.
Yeah, I think are definitely, you know, I like to think, you might tell me otherwise, that I'm quite sort of forward thinking, you know, I have TikTok. Woo. Even though my daughter says I'm cringe every day, so I'm like, my work here is done. You know, but I do
Her
think
finest work on TikTok is when she sings over the song, because she's so tone deaf that it's actually painful, and then she sings over
I just
it,
post stuff,
and then sends me, and I'm like, dude, that's like so bad. But anyway, she is on TikTok.
yeah. So, but I do think like sort of like the higher end, is that the right sort of my sort of age, is definitely kind of starting to, you know, we're embracing that flexible work, and we're embracing technology, some of us anyway, embracing technology,
and they accept that it's going to happen.
yeah, you know, and I've got, like I said, kids that are coming through of that generation, so I do think it'll feel very different. You know, and I think there is going to still be some people that maybe don't embrace it, that are maybe slightly older, but I'm interested to see, like you said, what that landscape looks like when it's
And think
run
about
by...
your kids by the time they're at work.
I don't want to think about that.
But it won't even be the same, will it? Because so many jobs will have been replaced by AI or technology or machines.
It will be profoundly different.
It'll be completely
As
different.
it's profoundly different of the last like 20 years that we've been discussing. I think something else as well, like our generation, and I know you're similar. You're not
I'm on the cusp. We'll just pretend that I'm in your generation.
Just drag her into ours for a minute.
But the generation above, I think, are the first, is basically a human test of what it's like to have both the man and the woman go to work when you've had a family.
Yeah.
Yes.
But previous generations to
Yeah.
that. I mean, my mum went to work, I think, when we were double figures.
Okay.
So,
Mine
but-
when I went to school, so yeah, did a good
Yeah,
6
yeah,
years
exactly,
at home.
yeah.
So I was going to say about this earlier when we were talking about the 9 to 5. So, because there's loads of stuff on it, isn't there, where the 9 to 5 was developed when the woman stayed at home.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the man went to work 9 till 5. So, you know, the woman stayed at home, she did the cooking, she did the cleaning, she did, you know, but actually what's happened is that doesn't happen anymore.
No.
But the 9 to 5 mentality in a lot of businesses has stayed the same.
yeah.
Yes.
So like we were saying, you have to get home at 5 or whatever time your commute is, and then do your cooking, do your cleaning, do the, you know, so you cram it in.
And do you think that's because a lot of the people that are running the making those decisions are men?
Yeah.
And they don't want that to change.
Yeah.
Because-
I've experienced even now, which, you know, obviously not mentioning any names of any companies, but people that almost make that joke about it of saying, you know, get home and get those pots washed, or, you know, get home and get a
Really?
wash on. Yeah.
You still get
really, really.
like I say, we could do a whole podcast on the shit that we still
in itself.
Yeah, and
but
they think
We need to get you guys back.
honestly,
some
they,
tea.
but they think it's funny, and it's like, you know, I'm just going to say it again, dude, it's not funny. Do you know what I mean?
No.
Like, I know you think, and I'm like, oh yeah, hilarious, but
yeah,
you know, and I
it's
think
not.
even just, you know, there's, without boring you to death with all the new legislation, there's all this like new stuff coming out on sexual harassment, and I'm saying to clients like, you need to put training in, you need to do development, and like one client said to me, well, I'm not sexually harassing anyone, so what's the problem? And I was just like, oh my God, please stop just talking.
Oh, one of them says, oh, well, I touch them when they can't see, and you just like, oh my God.
What?
People say this.
Yeah,
too.
they do, and this is what I mean. Like, there's so
that
much
sort of misogyny.
It's still there,
prevalent, and I
Yeah,
also
yeah.
think, and I hate to say it, but it is that older generation,
Yeah.
where their mums were at home and they kind of still want their wives at home, and then you get women coming into leadership roles and they're like, "Ain't you got some washing to do? You know, where's me dinner?" And you think it's actually really not funny. It's actually horrendous that you have that mentality.
There's still a lot of that.
There's a lot of work to do, I would say, and obviously you guys are incredibly forward thinking. You're very lucky to have Nick as a boss who definitely isn't of that mindset, but there is a phenomenal amount of businesses that are still very much ingrained in that 1960s, you know, women belong at home with a you know, with a sponge,
and they're also the businesses that won't offer any flexibility.
Correct.
So they want you in the office
You know,
9 to 5 doing the female.
It's almost like a self-projection on everyone else.
Yeah, you know, we
think.
don't offer enhanced maternity leave because that's a you problem. You know, we don't want you back part-time because that's just, you know, doesn't work for us. But actually, it would work if you found a way to make it work. You know, there's things called job shares. There's ways around it, but they just don't have the right mindset, and that's why it kind of feels a little bit like when that generation leave, I think there'll be a real shift in how the workplace feels, because some of those people
100%.
that have that mentality will no longer be in the workplace, and it'll be replaced by leaders who are modern dads, you know, with partners who have careers and are proud of that and advocate for those women to go to work and build a life for themselves, and that's incredible. You know, my partner very much loves that I am a career-minded woman, but he's also yesterday took the day off and did the garden and did stuff instead, because it can't all fall to me. And you have to have somebody and a team behind you. We always say it takes a village. You know, you can't do everything. And if women did that because they didn't work and now they do, then
why is it all not moved?
yeah, why is it still all,
I personally found that quite difficult to. I must have had it like ingrained, like in my brain, because when we had Alex, our first born, I just had this pull to go to work, like at all costs go to work. Almost like
that's because it's stressful. It's
tiring.
It's easier to go to work, isn't it?
Exactly. Well, it genuinely is.
Yeah.
Like
imagine having to kind of do both. Do you know what? Well, people, you know, like Jen was saying, people do now. Like there's that sort of generation of males, you know, coming through that are more flexible, that do, you know, like when my kids were little, I actually went to work and their dad stayed at home.
Yeah.
Purely because just that worked for us as a family, financially, what, you know, whatever. But even then we used to get people going, "You're doing what? Why are you at work and he's at home?" You're like, that was just like,
really
it's
frowned
like,
upon.
sort of my dad and that generation were like, this is just weird.
And I used to have Joe all day, and then I would go to work at 6 p.m. till 11 p.m. and do a late shift.
Oh my God, superwoman.
Because I was like, well, I can't afford nursery.
that
was my reality.
Oh gosh, don't even
'Cause
get
I
me
was
started
like,
on the nursery.
Childcare would cost more than my salary, so actually the only way to do it would be that I have him all day, and then when my partner came home, I would then go out and work till 11, come in and sleep, get up at 6 and do it again. And even then it was kind of oh, well, that's not ideal, is it? And I was like, but what is the ideal? You know, the ideal is that childcare is affordable and that I can work during the day, but that's not happening. So actually, this is the way that we can survive. And it wasn't forever. And, you know, it didn't do any of us any harm in reality, but women having careers should not mean that we are also then expected to do everything.
No.
And I think thankfully now, you know, our generation have far more understanding of the fact that it falls on both people, and I think
for
that's
me
great.
it fell because I made some mistakes, and I was like, I can't carry on doing that.
Yeah.
I've got to change the way that I do things, and I've got to prioritize. For me, I learned that if I prioritize my family first, work is fine. It'll just sort itself out.
It'll just fall into place, and you'll do it somehow.
Yeah, because then if it caused problems, like if I made maybe some poor decisions to start off with, And then that would put a lot of stress on the family, and me and Tony would be arguing or whatever. And then Ellis is not sleeping at night, and we're just like, oh my God, this is fucking awful.
And actually, how hard is it trying to function on no sleep?
Yeah,
Like,
and then going
it
to work
ruins
and with
you.
all that stress, I
Yeah.
just wasn't doing anything. So then I was like, well, I've
Something's
got to
gotta
change
change.
something.
And it does take a while to kind of find that
it
balance,
does.
doesn't
Yeah.
it? And to
And
find
every
out what works
family's
for you.
dynamic is
So I guess
different.
as a business owner, being able to offer that sort of flexibility to your team is amazing, isn't it? And also, like you just said, recognizing that not everybody is the same. So like your family situation might be different to someone else's family situation. So it's
100%.
kind of like,
Yeah.
you know, and I get it. You need people that are committed and they're going to do the job and deliver. But if we go back to say, like what we were saying, it's about the output, not the hours sat at the desk, isn't it? So if you can offer that flexibility to your team. And I get people on LinkedIn giving me abuse about all this stuff because I'm massively passionate, you know. And I get it. There's some businesses where you can't do that. If it's a manufacturing production line, you can't have people just disappearing off. I get that.
Yes.
However,
The businesses that can, should.
should,
That's how I
yeah.
always say it. The businesses
100%.
that can, if you have it available and it's an option for people to do it, offer it and give people that little bit of, you know, some people really are like, actually, I'm absolutely awake at 5. I'd love to start work at 7, but I'd also love to leave at 3:30 because then I could go and do X, Y, Z. If you can make that happen,
why would you not?
Why would you not?
Because they'll just
Yeah,
go to
yeah.
someone else down the
That
road
does.
and do it. And then
You
you're
know,
losing like
a
top
really
talent.
loyal,
Yeah.
loyal, hard-working team member because you don't want to let them start 90 minutes earlier, even though it has absolutely zero impact on your business. So, I mean, yeah, we could talk about it all day, but for me, if you're a business out there that you can offer it, please do, and think about the impact that might have on the people that you employ and the benefits that you would get from having someone who is, you know, incredibly productive in the morning. Let them work early.
Yeah.
You know, you
get the
will
best out
reap
of
the
your team.
benefits of that.
Yeah,
100%.
100%. I do challenge clients though. I'll say, you know, why?
Why not?
And they're like,
Yeah, they can't give a reason for it. Yeah. So I just want to stick
Why
to
not?
9 to
Yeah.
5.
Yeah,
We
it's
have
what we've
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
done.
and
Yeah.
it's either what we've always done or none of them actually want to go because I don't trust them, because then they realise as it's coming out of their mouth that
How
that's
bad it
absolutely,
sounds, yeah.
you know, we'll hire people that you do trust then. you
Yes.
know, so
Higher, better.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a control thing as well, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
So, right, moving on. So now we're on to Generation X.
That's not me, I'm on the cusp.
You're on the cusp.
Okay.
Joking aside,
1965.
the Berlin Wall, but yeah.
Yeah. Shaped
on
by
then.
the fall
Love
of the
that
Berlin
story.
Wall, and Alison actually has a piece
Okay.
of the Berlin Wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's at my dad's house, yeah.
Generation X then, flexible, informal, skeptical, and independent.
So this is kind of this would be your parents' era.
My parents are 43 and 45.
Uh,
No, sorry, 44 and 45.
Yes.
God, so they're
So what year were they born? I'm really bad at maths.
79 and 80.
Yes.
so they're borderline
They're very
millennial.
top. It's probably my
Yeah, yeah.
parents.
So
Yeah,
that's
my-
basically me. So your parents were born the same year as me.
So basically, Ali,
Sorry,
Ali's your mum.
I'm just going to leave it out.
They did have me very young.
Oh my God, that is the scary thing is to think that I could have a child like of
Yeah,
that age.
that is
24.
terrifying.
Wow.
They did have me young.
So,
So go on then. We can
Motivated-
maybe have a discussion in terms
Yeah.
of what I'm like and what your parents are like.
Yeah.
What do your parents do?
So my dad fits carpets and my mum. So I have my stepdad as well. So my
Yeah.
stepdad works with, you know, bad behaviour children.
Okay.
And my mum is a teaching assistant at primary school.
and have they always worked while you were a child, or did they have time off?
Yeah. So my dad's been in and out of different jobs.
Yeah.
My mum has been a teacher assistant. I was at primary school when she was a teacher assistant there, and she was a dinner lady as well. So she's been in that for years now.
Yeah.
And my stepdad was a football coach, and then he had an injury, and now has just been working with badly behaved children since.
Do you know though, that's really interesting. So when I was growing up, my mum worked at the nursery school that I went to. So it was just with you
Yeah.
saying that and going back to the point earlier that I made, there just wasn't the part-time jobs then. So you had
Yeah.
to kind of get the job that
Around
fitted in with the
school
school.
time.
Which, I mean, there is still an element of that now,
Yeah.
isn't there? But I do think there's more options now to like have a part-time job in an office or
Yeah.
a part-time job wherever. But I
Yeah.
do think, like, I grew up going to like the nursery because it wasn't even preschool and stuff then that my mum worked in.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just interesting you said that because I
And
thought that was
what
kind
do
of
you
cool.
think? What are your parents' attitudes to work as a rule? Do they live to work? Do they work to live? Like, how do they feel about a job.
Yeah, I think my mum will be like, stop talking about me, God.
Sorry, Ellie's mum.
But yeah, no, I think my mum's very much like, look, I go to work and I'm fine when I get home. Like, I can afford my bills, I can afford this.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
she
yeah.
doesn't necessarily have like, you know, I want to go on holiday. Like growing up, I've been abroad 5 times in my life, but I've never been away with my mum and my stepdad. Never been abroad with them. They don't go on holiday.
It's not a priority to them.
No,
Yeah.
they sort of just work, you know, to live. When they get home, they're fine,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Whereas,
Comfortable, I think,
Yeah,
is what they
yeah,
aim
yeah.
for.
and I
isn't
think
it?
that's had a massive effect on me as well. I think I've seen that and I've just strived for more. And, But like, I also have, like, I appreciate all the women in my family because every single one of them have worked hard.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
for
yeah.
example, I have my mum, my auntie and my nan, and they all have just worked their
And that is
asses off.
100% rubbed off on you.
Yeah, and like in different ways as well. Like my auntie has worked her absolute ass off, and now she's, you know, a director in her company.
Okay.
But my mum, she's worked her ass off, but she still does the same job, and she has done for years.
Yeah,
But she
But
loves
she
it.
loves it. She
Yeah,
goes
yeah.
there every day. She makes sure she's there. She hardly rings in sick.
Yeah.
And it's just that hustle sort of culture that they have to just, you know, get the job done, and as long as they can afford their bills
get
and
by.
things.
Yeah.
And it's about being happy with what you've got as
Yeah,
well, isn't it? So I think,
definitely.
like we were saying earlier about the TikTok and the online and
Yeah,
Comparison.
Yeah.
The
and I think
pressure.
I am a bit guilty of that. I mean,
Yeah.
I like, you know, I like to be successful, but mine is so I can go on holiday because I love to travel.
Yeah.
I just live like
both like a holiday
I
mad,
live
aren't
like
we?
that is what motivates me. So I'm not motivated by money, but I'm motivated to earn enough so I can take
do
the kids
that.
on
Yeah.
holiday
Yeah.
to make memories and things like that. But sometimes that can overtake I forget to be grateful
Yeah.
for what I've got. I've got a nice house, I've got a nice car, the kids are all healthy, but I think I'm so busy striving to like earn more money so we can go on holiday, not
Yeah.
just because I want loads of money. I mean, but that is my motivator. And
Yeah.
you do sometimes forget to stop
Yeah.
and think, actually, look at
what
everything
we
I've
do
got.
have.
Like,
Yeah.
and I think I like that though. I like
Yeah.
that they don't have that TikTok and
Yeah, I
online
do.
mentality of like always wanting more or
Yeah, I think that's why I always look back and I think I'm so grateful for what I have because, you know, I've got a little bit further than my mum has and stuff like that. But I just, like, obviously I worship the ground that she walks on because she built this mentality for me so that I was, you know, she
And you'll
pays
never
the
have gone
bills.
without,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you've always had everything.
Yeah, and
I think
it's the work
she
ethic,
worked
isn't it?
so
Yeah.
hard. Just like at one point, she was a single mum, like,
Yeah.
and she worked to put a roof over my head. Like, it's quite emotional when I speak about
She's
it.
gonna watch this and be
Yeah,
like, "What is
it's
that?" Right?
It's just going to be
yeah.
crying.
That's what happens
Yeah.
when you get HR in the room. It's like
Yeah,
crying.
right,
I've
guys.
been a
Happy
single
tears.
parent for 9 years and it's hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard,
Yeah.
especially when you want a career and you want
Yeah.
to, you know, you don't want your child to be kind of going without because you're on your own. And
Yeah,
like
yeah,
we've
yeah.
had this conversation loads, haven't we?
yeah.
We've both become single parents to kids and, you know, it's really tough.
Yeah.
It's really hard. And it's very easy to say, well, I'll sacrifice my career and I'll just say that because I'm a single mum, I couldn't achieve that or I
Yeah.
couldn't do what I wanted to do. I know we've had this chat before
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well and said like to find that balance when you're doing everything alone is double that. It's, you know, it's twice as
So
hard.
much pressure.
Yeah.
So much pressure because you are that parent that's doing absolutely everything.
Everything,
But you
yeah.
also don't want to lose sight of who you are. And,
Yeah.
you know, I didn't want to, you know, not be as ambitious or, you know, not progress but you've also then got the financial pressure of going, I need to earn X amount of money because I've got to do this on my own and the mortgage is my sole responsibility. And,
Yeah.
you know, it's tough and your mum's, you know, she's done an amazing job. She's made, you know, you and you've done so well, but their mentality for work has always been just to get by. I think.
It has, yeah. I think that's what I see anyway. It's
Yeah,
just
that's
as long
what it
as they've got a
feels.
roof over their head, they can eat at the end of the week. It's like we're happy, and as long as you're
They probably
happy.
don't have all the stresses though. That I mean, I'm sure they do have
Yeah.
stress, but I think there's like that stress isn't there. They're keeping up the Joneses, having to earn more so they can get the car, so you can get, you know, and just like what your mates are doing
Yeah.
compared to
Yeah.
what you're
Yeah.
doing. So it's not always the online stuff. So I
Yeah.
think
Yeah,
actually,
each generation is not better or worse.
No,
it's just
just
different,
different.
Yeah, yeah.
different ways, and
Different,
that's
yeah.
shaped by society, and it's also just shaped by your own experience and your parents' experience,
Yeah,
and just the natural kind of
100%.
fall down. Isn't
And
it?
I
Yeah.
wonder how hard those people find managing the younger generation. I think they
Mm.
find it probably really challenging because I think they're quite unsure of the boundaries.
Yeah.
They're quite unsure of what the expectations are and what they should be doing because actually they want to do a good job, but they're managing people who have got incredibly high expectations and, like we said earlier, potentially a little bit of entitlement, and they're probably a bit unsure of how to manage them.
I think for me though, because obviously I fall into that, I think if you can be open-minded and embrace it, you can get some like amazing results. So I think, you know, I've managed people that are a lot younger than me, and like just some of the stuff that comes through and you think, God, I've not even heard of that, and I'm like, tell me about it, tell me, you know,
what is that?
and they're doing stuff that I think, Jesus, I have like and now I do sound like my dad, but I think, you know, I have no idea what you're doing, but that is super cool. So I'm like, teach me, show me about it, teach me, you know, I want to learn. I think if you approach it with that mentality, then, you know, it'll keep you like fresh and you know, developed. You don't always have to go on a training course. You can learn from like the people around you. So I do have TikTok. I'm, you know,
she's down with the kids people.
I'm not. Freya calls me cringe every day, and I'm like, my work here is done. So
right.
But,
so baby boomers.
Yes. So here it's saying 1946 to 64.
That seems quite.
My nan and granddad.
So that's your grandparents. That's my parents.
That's like
my parents.
My parents are born
stepmum is-
58 and 59, so they're kind of in that.
Yeah, my stepmum's in that. My dad's got himself a younger bird, so.
Younger bird.
That
is such a northern.
I know. I don't know what it's called when it's the other way. It's like sugar daddy, isn't it? What's it called when it's that way around? But yeah, so she would fall under.
Sugar mummy.
Yeah, there is a thing for it.
That's what it is.
Do you know what
I think we're going into murky territory.
Reading what it says here, though, I would say that was pretty accurate, actually. Because,
optimistic.
Yeah.
This is the one I was thinking about earlier.
Loyal,
Stay in jobs for a very long time. My parents stayed in jobs forever. Like, Mum was in the council like 33 years or something.
Yeah,
like,
my nana was in a job for like 40 years.
They are incredibly loyal. And I think they're also quite fearful of doing something different, so it's kind of that creature of habit mentality. And they've also said here, like, communication style is whatever is the most efficient, and I would agree with that, because Mum just wants whatever's easiest. She doesn't want to be faffing with, like, you know, I say to her, go on live chat, she's like, what do you mean? No, I don't want to. No, and she doesn't want to talk to a robot.
Just ring someone.
She's like,
it's actually us ringing someone. Like,
I'm like,
if my phone rings now, I'm like,
I don't want to talk
making
to
a noise.
anybody.
It's doing something. Like someone's actually ringing me. It's like, what's that?
And they
all
also
about?
like face to face, so they still want to go into a shop. You know, when I say all the things online, she's like, I just want to go and try it on.
Yeah, when you see that as the colleagues helping them at the self checkout.
Yeah, all of that kind of jazz. You know, they don't like a self checkout because they go, it's not a person. And you're like,
I like
it's
face to face. I feel like I'm I'm quite extroverted there, so I would much prefer to meet someone face to face
than do a Teams call.
Do a Teams.
I agree.
So do I.
You miss like a human connection.
Yeah.
Like almost an endorphin. I feel that. What I feel. But I appreciate that. Not everyone's like that at all.
Yeah. And I don't. Do you know? I don't even think that's always a generation thing. I think sometimes that's a preference thing. Yeah. And also a how are you feeling thing, because some weeks I think I can't be asked to leave the house. I'm just sat here in my little loungewear living my best life. And other weeks I'm like, I'll go on to see clients, and like, you know, before I came here I went to meet someone for a coffee, whereas last week I was too busy, I wouldn't have had time to go. Do you know, so I think some of that is situational, and I do think for the older generation some of it is like, I don't actually know how to use Teams. Like my dad doesn't have a clue how to like.
I didn't know how to use Teams because I was a receptionist through lockdown, so I didn't use Teams once. I was seeing people all the time, and then when I got my marketing job after the COVID had lifted, I was like, how do I use Teams? And I felt so. I was like, oh my God.
I hate Teams personally.
And I've had like, even in workplaces when you've tried to roll out like, I don't know, 365 or something new software, and that generation just go, do I have to? Is it compulsory? And I'm like, well, yeah, kind of, because we're moving things onto them. They're like, oh God. And it's a genuine fear and panic about anything that's not, can't I just ring you like I've always rang you? I'm like, well, now we'll just do a Teams call. And they genuinely go, I just don't want to.
Back to what Alison was saying. I don't think that's necessarily fully generational, because like we've done the similar things, and some of our team, like you, have just been like, yeah, cool, let's use Slack or whatever.
Crack on.
But then some other stuff, people have just really struggled
to
embrace
Slack,
it.
and I love online stuff. And
I do.
I think, you know, I think that's just, I do think there's some generational stuff in there, but I also do think, definitely that's a preference. So I think whereas before there wasn't the options, was it? You had to come into an office. So if you're an introvert and sitting in an office full of people, could be quite stressful.
Yeah,
you know, that can actually be quite
Yeah,
stressful and overwhelming. So I think, I do think absolutely from a tech point of view and just a change point of view. I mean, like, my dad will still drive for like 3 hours to find a Marks and Spencer's because, you know, they've all shut down now and he doesn't want to do it online. But I just, you know, but I think I do think there's definitely a
and when they
preference.
leave the workplace, they will leave much later than the last generation before them, because a lot of them all literally hit the 60th birthday and it was get the balloons out, they're off. But some of these guys at 65 are going, I don't feel ready to leave work.
Yeah, my nan was like that.
And if they've got to the point where they're in a leadership role, they are managing people much, much younger than them, but they're also saying, I don't really want the pressure maybe as much. So then do they go backwards for a bit and do they take a lesser role and go part-time? And, you know, it's probably quite scary for them because they don't particularly want to be maybe in a senior leadership role anymore, but they also don't want to retire and do nothing.
It's
so
almost ingrained in their culture.
It's really hard for them to go, I don't really want this much pressure.
I think
I don't want to do nothing.
I think we've maybe been quite harsh on the baby boomers
I
in
was
this
just gonna
podcast, but there are...
Flip it around actually and say about that.
Well,
Sorry, I don't mean to
you go.
interrupt.
No,
but I
you
was
go.
thinking because it's all very what the younger
What they don't
generation
want to do.
No, but it's all about what the younger generation want and about, you know, so like you said, it seems quite harsh on the baby boomers, but actually if you flip it on its head, because earlier we were talking about that younger generation, like wanting progression, they want stuff instantly, that entitlement. I think actually why are you not like learning like some stuff, like maybe not all of it, like the, you know, they're not wanting to change and stuff, but actually that generation when they leave in 10 years, there's so much experience that's going to go with them. It's like, why are you know, we're sort of, I feel like you said it was very harsh. It was all about what the younger generation want. But actually, if you flip it, do you see what I'm trying to say? It's kind of like we could learn a lot. And it's like if someone just suddenly leaves a business, the risk is they take a lot of knowledge
and
with them.
experience. Yeah.
So I think, you know...
Yeah, and it was like, it's not all bad, is it? Like, each generation is like, I think we've just kind of come to the conclusion is that it's different.
Yeah.
And I think baby boomers, I think...
They were grafters, or they are
Exactly.
grafters. They absolutely.
There's
Absolutely.
Roll their
like,
sleeves
my
up.
dad has
Resilience.
worked an insane amount of hours. He's utterly resilient person.
Loyal, yeah.
And I think there is an element of that is commendable and is
incredible.
helpful
Yeah.
to
100%,
anyone.
100%. And I was chatting to my partner the other day about this actually, because I feel like, you know, we were chatting about my daughter and stuff, and we said she's like, lack of resilience. Do you know what I mean? So it's like someone said something and I was offended, and you know, and it's like, you know, that's another podcast. Or you've got to tread carefully around in terms of what I say, especially as a HR person. But I do think, like younger and even like our generation, there's a lack of resilience that like my dad's generation
Had,
like, you know, we took the kids to Bean Mission in the summer, and my dad came with us, and he was like, this was like the school that I went to, you know, and they used to hit us with a cake, you know, and I'm not suggesting at all we go back to that, but you know, the difference in their childhoods compared to ours, and I feel like that lack of resilience in a workplace from a HR point of view as well can be tough.
Yes.
And that's why our role, and that's why our role has changed.
Oh,
so
you know, because
much
people
from
put
what
grievances
HR
in.
was.
We get grievances, we get complaints for stuff, and because I am quite resilient. You know, I've had a group. My dad was in the forces. He was a squaddy. You know, I grew up and he was like, you leave school and you get a job, and you know, I'm quite resilient. I've dealt with a lot of stuff as a lot of people have, but I do think, you know, we get complaints and we get grievances and some stuff, and I think, really, you know, can we just...
This is a conversation.
Yeah, this is actually a conversation. Can we sit down and just chat about it? Or, you know, can I facilitate a chat with you and that person? They're like, ooh.
And they
that
think
means actually
everything
talking
needs
to
to
someone
be a
like
big
face to
deal.
face. Yeah. So I think it's that there's a lot we can definitely learn from that older generation in terms of like resilience, hard working, knowledge as well. So...
And they learnt the hard way, because there was no quick fixes and there was no Instagram, TikTok, fast money. They had to work their way up the steps by doing all of the jobs,
all of the things,
and climbing the ladder in the traditional way. There was no quick fixes and there was no instant cash out. It was very much, you took a promotion when you'd earned a promotion, and then you worked in that job until you waited for the next promotion to come. And you did that, you know, with respect, and you did it with time, and you didn't expect anything by the age of 25.
It's a very different culture. And also in the 60s and 70s as well, the economic climate was utterly, catastrophically different.
Yeah.
There's still, like, there was so many recessions and
It was tough.
unions
it was really
and
tough.
all sorts of stuff going on. It's a very different world. But
And they've actually raised a bunch of well-rounded adults.
what a lovely point to end on.
Yeah, they've done all right, haven't they?
Yeah.
They've done all right.
We have a little. So my dad is. So my maiden name was Smith. We're not going from. But we've said. I know. What are you laughing at? But my dad's.
It's just the way you were kind of like apologising for that. Yeah.
I am a Smithy. But like we always sort of say,
We've
my
got a
dad
Smithy.
lives in like Smith world. Do you know what I mean? He has this
Yeah,
nice
yeah.
little world that he lives in, and he breezes through life because really he doesn't have any. I mean, he's retired now, but he doesn't really have any stresses of like social media comparing stuff. You know, he has a nice life where he doesn't have to kind of worry about stuff. You know, he's retired and stuff, but. Yeah, I'm like, wouldn't it be nice to just live in like little Smithy world? And yeah.
Yeah, and he's built that, I suppose, hasn't he, for himself?
Yeah, he has, and that's come from like hard work, resilience, and you know, and he's had a tough life, but he's got to a point now where he doesn't have to worry about all that extra noise and stuff, and yeah.
Must be nice.
Fun day,
Well,
guys.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much,
No,
everybody.
thanks for having us. It's been a
you.
blast.
It's been great.
I know.
Lovely.
It's been good.
Thank
It's
you.
been
Cool.
good. I definitely
Cheers.
think there's a gap for another.
I think we could do another one.